minus 27 seconds. We've gone for redundant set sequencer start. T minus 20 seconds and counting. T minus 15, 14, 13. T minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. We've gone for main engine start. We have main engine start. The shuttle has cleared the tower. Back arrow program. Go.
Roger, roll.
Alright, welcome back to Mofuk Plays KSP. This is episode 3. I'll be titling this episode Infrastructure, but here's the launch of our first shuttle, the Capability. That, of course, was a recording from the STS-1 on April 12, 1981 of Shuttle Columbia's first flight. That was the first American space shuttle mission with 2 test pilots, John Young and Robert Crippen. It was about a 54.5 hour flight, about 37 orbits. So we're going to do something kind of similar. I just really wanted to make some sort of shuttlecraft. I've experimented with it a little bit in the past and never really been successful, but this is actually pretty successful, and it launches pretty dang similar to a real space shuttle. So it's got a very similar ascent profile and some similar descent profile. It's kind of tough to land, but definitely could be a lot harder. I think I'm just getting used to it because I've never actually really used space planes before, never really been used to them. But yeah, this thing is awesome. As you can see in the cockpit there, we had a view of our cargo bay. I don't know if you were paying attention or not, but we actually have 2 little satellite science probe things. Just kind of test weight, basically. They're not very important to the program. I'm just taking them up to see what we can actually carry in this bay. And I stagger the tanks like that because they like to drain from the top, and then that'll throw off the whole center of mass, so I drain the top tank after. But this actually works pretty well, and it's only using 3 mods, I think, for the actual shuttle itself. It's Space Planes Plus, B9, and KW Rocketry. It's pretty awesome. But this is pretty similar to the first space shuttle mission, except for they didn't have any sort of major payload. The only payload they had was the development flight information, which is a DFI package. There was a bunch of sensors and measuring devices to record performance of the orbiter during its first flight. So this included ascent, space flight, and descent profiles to determine whether or not it was worthy for space at that time. So here we are, just getting our orbit right to where I want it. I decided to go for 166 for some reason, or 165, I guess. Not too ideal, but it works. I love this part though, just separating from that external tank and floating away. It's awesome. It's just like the famous footage from the actual space shuttle. I'm gonna get the curl cam mod, I think, and put a camera on the tank next time. But we'll see if I get around to that or not. Here we are, just going away. We've got brave Bill and Alany Kerbin. Alny. Yes, Alny. But these are our 2 brave test pilots. They have never flown a space plane before, actually in space. We've done plenty of tests on the ground, but we shall see how this thing fares in the depths of cold, dark, dangerous space. There we are, deploying our cargo bay and solar panels. Now we're going to flip over and inspect our external tank, make sure that everything is good and there's no major damage to the tank, just like the real shuttle missions did. They would actually go into they would roll after they separated and check out the tank just to make sure nothing was too bad on it. I think they were mainly inspecting to see if any tiles had impacted, so they could kind of guess if there were any tiles falling off at that point. Here we are, just flipping around. Apologize, by the way, I meant to record this in full size on Fraps, but for whatever reason, I accidentally recorded this clip in half size. But here's the tank, just inspecting it for damage. Looks good to us. Bill and Alany are going to signal back to the KSC that everything is good to go. Majestic view, the slow ballet of spaceflight. I love it. Beautiful planet. Extremely beautiful. Now here I discover a view that I did not know existed. I like it though. Yeah. Here's a look of our cockpit. That's a view of our cargo bay and the satellites in them from our cockpit. We also got an orbital display right there. Now right here I was actually looking on it to see if I could actually manipulate a maneuver node on it. Turns out you can't, which is fine. That'd be a little bit overpowered, but I think it'd be pretty sweet just to do an all IVA. I guess you could, you just have to really guess, really know when you had to do your burns, which would be fun. I think that'd be an interesting thing to do. Here we are just taking another closer look at the cargo bay. Pop on the lights. Got these two little science package satellites. They might just double as little communications arrays for now, once I get remote tech going. Yeah, overall they're not going to be too important. They'll probably be deorbited at some point. Alright, setting up a maneuver to prepare to go into orbit. And here we are making that burn. I decided to use the radial engines as my OMS systems, and I think they work alright. With tweak scale, they can be scaled down a little bit, so they kind of sip fuel. They got decent thrust. They're not like forward thrust or anything, which is good. I like them. They're working pretty okay. Overall, this shuttle is just making me very happy. It's very nice so far, even though it's not perfect. I'll be the first one to say it's not perfect. I'm so curious as to what kind of payload I can have in there. That's why I wanted to put those satellites in there, because I think this might just be like my satellite deployment shuttle. I might include bigger satellites and just do one at a time from now on, and maybe have some sort of lab testing in there. I'm not sure. Here we are, just correcting our orbit a little bit, getting her all prepared. And yes, we are on the dark side, so sorry about that. I installed a couple new mods, by the way. One of them is this science notification, which I think is pretty cool. A lot of people think it's cheaty, but I don't really care. Might as well maximize your science, right? It's not like anything's doing it for you. So yeah, there's one of our satellites doing its job already. Detecting some trace gases. And here we go. Alany's going to get out for an EVA inspection of the craft. I don't think the shuttle program ever did EVA inspections of the shuttles, but I know that when they would fly up to the International Space Station, they would actually do a flip maneuver to test, to visually inspect the shuttle and make sure that tiles were still on the craft and there was no major damage to the tile integrity, because that's what your reentry depends on. Just look at Columbia. They had a part of their styrofoam external tank strike the wing, and that's what ended up I can't talk today. That's what ended up causing their disintegration on reentry. So all our tiles look good. Looks like we have a little tiny bit of damage. There's actually no damage, I'm just role playing. We got two sets of wheels on the back. I used to use the ones in front, but then I installed the ones on back because they're gets a little bit farther off the ground, because I kept slamming and hitting my tail down. Didn't want to do that, and instead of taking them off, I just figured I'd leave them on just for a little safety net in case one of the wheels breaks or something. even though they're uneven, but it's, you know, it doesn't really hurt. It's a beautiful inspection of the fuselage. Cargo bay is looking good. We have a pretty big amount of life support for this. I think it can be in space for about, I want to say 120 days for 2 Kerbals. Here Alney is just going to get a little bit closer look at the satellites. I think he tries to deploy an antenna right here, but realizes that he cannot do that, which was actually me, but I'm just going to blame it on him. So yep, we're going to get a little bit closer look at the cargo bay here. Excuse me. I don't know why. Every time I record, I just burp constantly. But here's Bill getting a closer look on Alney in our cargo bay through the external camera. Looks pretty nifty. Pretty cool just to see him flying around. But here they go. They're getting their last checklist completed to deploy their first satellite. They're going to maneuver the shuttle in the correct position before they deploy this thing. Now we have 2 satellites to deploy, so remember that much. I'm going to aim directly towards the planet for our tail anyways on this one. So this one, I'm going to space them out. I'm going to shoot one off one way and then the other one the other way. So here my engines turn on for some reason. Good thing they weren't throttled up. But there goes the deployment. We're going to go out and look at it. There it goes off into the blue yonder. Or black yonder, I guess. I guess that's what you call space. Here we go. It might be a little bit dark. Hopefully you guys can see that. If not, oh well, there's nothing much to see. It's just a little satellite being deployed. And then here we go on into the cabin right after this thing turns around, I guess. There we go. Here we go for deployment of satellite number 2. I'm just going to check this one out from inside of the shuttle. Pretty cool. Alright, well here's liftoff of our KSM CASA module. It will be the home section of our new project, the KSL, which is going to be the Kerbin Space Laboratory. I'm going to be doing some long-term studies on this station about how Kerbals survive in space and what they can do to lengthen their lives for interplanetary travel and trips to the moon and Minmus and such. We'll bring in some key facts into what actually happens in microgravity to the body of a Kerbal. But yeah, I keep underestimating the solid rocket boosters in this game and picking just massive ones for my rockets. So I need to scale those down a little bit, but this one gets up without absolutely no problem, and I probably ended up spending way too many funds on it. But you know what, it's better safe than sorry. It would have been a lot more funds if the mission would have failed, because I actually will get part of this back sometime, maybe. Actually, I guess I won't, will I? 'Cause it's a station. Anyways, here we are just inserting into orbit. I'm going for about a 150 kilometer orbit. This first stage gets you plenty far into space. Got plenty left. I got this dual Vesta KW engine on the back of it. But this stage I actually realized that I forgot a probe core on it, which is going to be a problem, and I guess it could be worse. It could have crashed or something, but I do want to figure out some sort of way to get a probe body, or once I get the grabber, I guess I could just send a probe up to grab that and deorbit it. But for now, I'm just going to leave it on the station after it's into orbit until I figure out a solution, because I do not want to be leaving a bunch of space debris like I already have. We've learned a lot in the, looks like 5 or 6 days of our Kerbal Space program, I believe, is what it says in game. Even though these videos are filmed about weeks apart. Yeah, here we are just checking it out, making sure everything's okay. And we are ready to deploy our new crew module. This is the Estrella module. It's a 3-person capsule. This is loosely based on the Orion and Constellation I guess it was the Copernicus module. Loosely based on those. It looks pretty cool if you ask me. I think I did a pretty good job on it. But this one is also sufficiently strong to get into orbit. I was only at about 50% that entire time, and I was going way too fast. I actually had some entry effects, some atmosphere burn on the rocket, which is fine. Like I said, I guess it's better than not making it into orbit. But I do need to figure out a solution that's cheaper to this and will actually still launch them. Here we are, just moving on up, trying to get an intercept approach. We've got Dilming, Bob, and Billery on this mission. They're gonna drop off a science crew for the KSL, or the KSP module. Here we are, just burning into orbit still. I'm sorry that everything keeps ending up on the dark side. I don't know why that's happening, but you know what? Just gotta deal with it sometimes. This is not the best rendezvous entry into orbit, by the way. I am a little bit rusty. I have not done any rendezvous in a while, but you know, it could have been worse. Could have been worse. There's the fairing detachment, and here's our new craft. Looks pretty cool if you ask me, and this is actually going to deorbit itself. This is what I meant to do with that the other deployment stage from the KSL. Now, just going to set up our maneuver, fly on up to it, and then burn into orbit, and hopefully get a close encounter. See right here, I'm just kind of trying to burn towards, get that prograde marker towards the target intersect, and there we go. You get pretty dang close actually on the first orbit, which is pretty cool. And I'll set up a little correction burn farther ahead for when we actually intersect. Alright, so here we are a little bit ahead, back in the daylight, which is good. We're only about 60 kilometers from the space station, the KSL. I guess it's called KSM. But I keep having this weird bug where my UI will randomly disappear when I start to right click and look around. If anybody knows what mod causes that or why that might be happening, that'd be awesome if you could let me know. I actually had a lot of weird bugs on this mission, which you'll see in a second, but here we go. Just gonna get a little bit closer approach orbit. Gonna burn our capsule, burning it into a closer approach farther up the road. You can see it's kind of suspending our movement compared to them, our relative velocity. We're gonna set up another maneuver to even out our eccentricity. And then I'm gonna burn it so we actually end up pretty close to him. There we go, perfect. I believe we're gonna warp ahead to this. Looks like about a 5-second, 33 meter per second burn. And for some reason, I actually had to set up my science mod right there. It kept pausing my warp when it would discover a new experiment, new EVA report, which was really annoying, very annoying. So I ended up turning that off. Another new mod I got, by the way, is called Final Frontier. It records, it actually awards your Kerbals ribbons, and it records like their time and space, their EVA, their number of orbits, number of missions. It's really cool. That's kind of like a personal effect to your Kerbals. But yeah, you can see it keeps pausing. It's driving me nuts. I was trying to figure out where to find it in here, and there you go. I finally found it right there. But now I'm scrolling down, scrolling around. There I go. There, I found it. Stop warp on discovery. Yep, I'm not having that on anymore. We're going to skip ahead to our burn. Only 2.6 kilometers away. That's not bad at all. But here we go. Here goes our first little bug that we were experiencing when actually trying to rendezvous with this. First of all, look at my target velocity. It would never get below 4,000 meters per second, which is very strange. It wouldn't switch over to the target actual velocity, which was very weird, and I just kind of ignored it, thinking that maybe it was just a little glitch in the UI as I was approaching. But you'll see here in a second that was not the case. Something very strange was going on. But here we are, just doing our regular approach techniques. I'm going to warp ahead, and then all of a sudden when we're ahead, I try to stop the craft, and for some reason we are at 1 time speed right now, and the craft just like zooms away for some reason. It was very frustrating. I ended up turning around, burning, trying to catch it, wasting a bunch of fuel and messing up my orbit a little bit. Very weird, very weird. If anybody knows what mod or why that would happen, that'd be awesome too, if you could let me know. And there it goes. It actually just jumps from way far away to super close, and then it just zooms away again. It's almost like desync in DayZ. Things will just kind of start moving around even though they're actually in one spot. There it goes again. It warps back one more time. Excuse me. Alright, here we go. We're going to make one more approach. I think this actually does that weird thing one more time, which is very frustrating. Yep, there it goes right there. See? We are in 1 times and it just zooms away like the engine's on or something. Anyways, I decided to load a quick save. This is why I quick save, and I was considering rebooting the game, but I wanted to see if a quick save would work first, and then making a closer approach. And this one actually ended up working out. Decided to not be weird anymore. If you look at our target velocity, it actually works correctly this time. Coming in at about 7 meters per second. And there she is. Our beautiful space station center module so far. I love those. I've really become fond of those opening docking ports, by the way. I don't know why. But here we are lining up. We got our laser cam on. I remember the first time I ever docked and how ridiculously hard it was and how long it took me. And it's weird. It seems like after that one time, you can just pretty much do it every single time. I think the hardest part to learn was actually rendezvous, but docking itself was pretty simple after a while. But here we go. We're going to go back into real time here. Bam. Connection. Woo! Bob, Billery, and Dillman get the credit for the first rendezvous in space and docking, which is pretty awesome. But here we are back in the sunlight, and I can't remember if it's Dillman or Billery, but he's actually going to come out and inspect the vehicle, make sure nothing's wrong with it. Checking out our science lab and batteries and such. Now this is the stage that I told you I forgot the probe core on. I really should have put that on there, but I forgot. Anyways, he's gonna hop in, and then I think this is Bob, because Bob and I think it was Dillman. It might have been Dillman. Their stupidity was very low. But here's a new mission. This is for the Minsai. It's actually going to be a new hopper. It's called the Minsai hopper. It's just a little science lander RCS field that I'm going to send a Minmus for Tedbury to use on his mission. It'll arrive in 15 days, so that'll be about 10 days after he gets there. But he's got plenty of life support, and it'll give him some time to kind of prepare and adjust to the environment before he can use a new piece of equipment. This thing has 2 materials bays on it, 2 goo canisters. It's got a thermometer and some other experimental devices. I believe it actually also has a laser ablation I want to say that's what it's called, laser ablation thing, experiment. It shoots lasers down in the ground and whatever they're doing, wherever you're at actually, and analyzes it for a little bit extra science. It's from the D-Magic Orbital Sciences mod. But here we go, burning into orbit. And this is another case where I underestimated the solid rocket boosters. I keep having the weirdest bugs this episode, but every time the view would change, my view would just go straight into the rocket for some reason. But I was trying to get a direct shot to min-miss, and I could have adjusted it so I could have waited like one orbit and got there a lot earlier, but I figured this was pretty much okay. This is going to be just fine, so burning that into a min-miss intercept. So you can see Ted Bree is about halfway there right now. He should be arriving in about 4 days game time, so i.e. that'll probably be next episode. Here we go, getting our intercept. I overshoot it a little bit there, so I'm just going to spin around and get it right back. I end up undershooting it. I'm just going to correct that. There we go, perfect. So that's all set up. Let's deploy the fairings once I get out of this map view. Ditch the fairings once I get in the sun again. And then we're going to check out our little min-miss lander. It's called the Hopper because it's just purely RCS powered, and I'm just going to biome hop with it. Pretty cool. There goes that weird glitch again. Yeah. So now it's time for Alney and Bill Kerman. Is it Alney or Alry? I don't remember. But anyways, it's time for them to do their deorbit burn and re-enter the atmosphere in the first shuttle test. This is always a harrowing adventure in the shuttles. Re-entry is a very dangerous thing, as you can see by Columbia, Shuttle Columbia, which is the one that disintegrated on re-entry. Now here we are, just descending in the atmosphere. I'm going to try to pancake in the top thinner layer to burn a little bit of speed off. Not too sure if that actually works or not, but I've been reading up on it, and I believe that's the way to do it. It says large scale stall. It makes me a little bit nervous while this was happening, so I'm actually going to go into real time here in a second, but I dip down right before I lose control. And here we go into re-entry. We're going Mach 6.5. Just very fast. We're about to hit this mid-level atmosphere. I know it's a night landing too, but I didn't really have a choice, to be honest. So here we see our final mission time was 1 day and a couple hours. Looks like 1 hour actually. But pretty similar to the actual STS-1. Not exactly, but pretty similar. Here we are, just gaining tons of speed, going about Mach 7. So I'm not sure if Mach number is actually the direct Mach or not, but it is pretty damn fast, that's all I know. You can see right there I got my flaps deployed. That is basically the only way to correctly land with a space plane in Ferrum. I simply cannot figure out any other way to bleed off the speed unless I fly around the planet 4 times, which I think is kind of ridiculous, but oh well. I guess it's pretty realistic, even though your plane disintegrates even when you try to move, going Mach 4 or above. But there's the Space Center. We're going to overshoot a little bit, but don't you worry. We're just going to kill the rest of this speed real quick. This is where I'm realizing that we're pretty dang close. I hope this isn't too dark as well. It may be. If it is, just bear with me. I will do the best I can in this series, so if it's a little dark this time, I'll try to fix it next time. Bill and Allery do not look too happy with this right now, though. They look a little frightened. I'm actually going to try to kill some velocity here. I roll over a little bit, and then I'm actually just going to flip over and do a complete roll back down into the back around to the Space Center. We'll see how this works. The thing flies a little bit squirrely. It's pretty similar to the actual space shuttle, that it doesn't have too much lift, so it just kind of falls. But you can glide on it, which is nice. Luckily I do have a little bit of fuel too. I can use my OMS for a little bit of propulsion. Keeping my flaps on, making sure I'm not gaining speed as I flip over. Oh, there we go. We almost got a stall. Just gonna keep flipping over. Oh. Whew. And there we go. Sorry about that, by the way. It's my roommate. But yeah, I'm actually going to use this OMS system into the runway. The moon looks glorious, by the way, behind the mountains. It's just very slightly crescent. Let's see, which way am I facing? I'm facing west, so that means that it is a... I'm not sure. I'm not sure what phase that would be in the Kerbin system. Here we are burning, just getting a little bit of speed to get into the final approach. Bill and Allery, whatever the hell his name is, they're getting pretty nervous and just want to land this thing and be done with it. At the same time, in many Kerbal cities, they are being heralded as heroes. Heroes of the space program. It's gliding in nice and swift-like. I actually bought a joystick and I'm trying to use that on this mission, but joystick's rolls are too sensitive in this game for some reason, so I'm gonna have to turn that down, fix that. But here we go, just gotta pull up. Really don't want to slam into the water right before the runway. Here we've deployed our landing gears, and I'm trying to look down, but I accidentally end up pitching down and get very lucky. We just bounce on our wheels. Deploying our brakes and flaps, and the craft has stopped landing successfully. Awesome. STS Columbia capability has landed its first safe space flight. Funny enough too, that is actually my first landing of a space plane ever returning from orbit. And it's gonna just taxi to the hangar over there and perform some post-mission evaluation. But yes, like I was telling you earlier, I installed the Final Frontier mod, which tracks a bunch of different stuff for your Kerbals and gives them ribbons for it. I'm going to cut to a little clip showing what ribbons they got for this mission. So it's actually Allery. Bill and Allery got a bunch of ribbons for this, which is pretty cool. Test pilot, Kerbin EVA. Pretty awesome. And that's going to do it. Thanks, guys.